who before he had left home taking sannyas, his brother had left home taking sannyas. And he said that he heard that he's in somewhere in South India. Good luck finding somebody in South India, right? But he went, and in the course of his travels, he went through a forested area known as Sri Shaila, and lo and behold, there was Lord Shiva and Durga. There they are, Lord Shiva and Durga. Now, they were in a disguise. He didn't look like this painting shows, but it says specifically, he was not seen by others as Lord Shiva and Durga. In the background, you see there's Indra and there's Brahma and other devatas, because they also respect Lord Shiva very much. And Lord Shiva very kindly invited Caitanya Mahaprabhu to stay with him for several days. They had nice discussions on transcendental topics. It doesn't say much about the exchange other than he gave alms. Alms means he fed. And spent 3 days in a solitary place, sitting together, engaged in confidential talks. There's another reference, and this other reference is something that hopefully you will receive a copy of in your mailbox. However, messages are circulated here. There's a PDF, a file that has 8 prayers or ashtakas glorifying Lord Shiva spoken by Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Did you know that? And the person who recorded it was Murari Gupta. Murari Gupta was an associate of Caitanya Mahaprabhu before he accepted sannyas in Navadvip. He was a physician by trade, a great devotee of Caitanya Mahaprabhu, and for that matter, he was a great devotee of Lord Ramachandra, Murari Gupta. And he wrote a book. Mukta, as you see, here's the cover of one of the translations, Caitanya Charita Mahakavya. And in this book is this Shiva Shastakam. So rather than going through each of those prayers, I'll allow you to do that because you'll get a copy. And if anybody's not on the mailing list, this is a good opportunity for you to find out how to get on the mailing list. And I'm sure our announcer will tell you how to get on the mailing list so you get a copy of this. So you'll be happy and they'll be happy that you're on their mailing list. See, he had affinity. Caitanya Mahaprabhu is Krishna himself, but as great Vaishnavas are dear to the Lord, and the Lord is very dear to those great Vaishnavas, Caitanya Mahaprabhu, held Lord Shiva in a special place because he's a great devotee. For example, there's another biography about Lord Chaitanya's life known as Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, and there's a description, a lengthy description actually, of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu hearing a devotee of Lord Shiva singing and playing a little musical instrument, a little drum, and he was dancing, singing nice praises of Lord Shiva. Lord Chaitanya got in the mood of Lord Shiva, got on the man's back, and started riding around in ecstasy. And the reciter of those prayers was very happy. And after that, this was a signal or a turning point in Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, where from this day onward, he began the Sankirtan activities at the house of Srivas Pandit. So it's an important event. One more reference of Lord Chaitanya's interaction with Lord Shiva is found, of all things, in Srimad Bhagavatam. In Srimad Bhagavatam, how many of you, I'm curious, how many of you have a complete set of Srimad Bhagavatam in your home? Okay, That's a lot. That's good. So those of you that don't, consider, because it's life and soul of the Vaishnavas. So we'd like to give you life and soul. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, in the beginning chapters, Narada Muni is visiting in Dwarka. Dwarka is the place where Krishna lived for many years during his lifetime. And Narada Muni paid a visit to Dwarka. And when he was visiting in Dwarka, Krishna's father, Vasudeva, was also living in Dwarka. And he took the opportunity to invite Narada to his home, to his palace, and requested Narada to describe transcendental knowledge. He said, I've had so many other nice exchanges with you, but I haven't taken the time, so please describe transcendental knowledge. He asked a number of questions. And in response to those questions, Narada Muni made reference to what you see in this painting. There was a situation where the Nava-yogendras, those are those effulgent personalities floating in the sky, like Narada can travel in the sky without an airplane. So they also could do that. And the scene is that the king, who's over on the right side, King Nimi, he was performing a yajna, as you see in the center of the painting. There are the Brahmanas doing the yajna, and some of his ministers and secretaries, etc., also participating. And all of a sudden, zooming in from the sky, come these effulgent 9 beings, called the Nava-yogendras. And the king stopped his yajna, stood up, offered prayers to them, and took the opportunity to ask questions. So now what's going on here is Narada is being asked a question, and he's supplying the answer by referring to great authorities who were asked the same question, and here's how they responded. That's our way of disciplic succession. I'll say it again. Our way of disciplic succession is if you are asked a question, it's very easy. Previously, the same question likely was discussed, and you just repeat what that conversation or the exchange was when that same discussion was taking place. So that's what Narada did. He refers to one of the sages named Karbhajana Muni was asked a question by the king. And one of the questions by the king was, please describe the forms of the Lord as they appear in each of the 4 yugas. So after Satyajita Dwarapa comes this one. And in describing the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga, that's where the section is. There's 3 verses describing Caitanya Mahaprabhu. The person speaking is Karbhajana Muni. He's speaking to the king, Nimi. And one of the verses has this phrase, Shiva Varinchi Nutam Sharanyam. You can't see. Okay. Shiva, we know who that is. That's Lord Shiva. Varinchi, that's one of the names of Lord Brahma without the detail of how that name got stuck to Lord Brahma. It's Lord Brahma's name. So Shiva and Lord Brahma, Nutam, they offer their obeisances, their prostrated obeisances, Nutam, Sharanyam, in the mood of surrender. So they offer their obeisances and worship Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the Leela avatar for this age of Kali, or the Yuga avatar, for the age of Kali. So just the English translation of this particular section. Your lotus feet are the shelter of all holy places and of all saintly authorities in the line of devotional service, and are honored by powerful demigods like Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So it's indirect, but it indicates a relationship. They offer their obeisances, Nutam Sharanyam, unto Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Next is Krishna, and everybody here knows Krishna. So one of the places of residence of Krishna is pictured here in this photograph. This is up on a hill. It's Nandagram. This is on a hazy day. This is from a different angle. It is a less hazy day. It's a nice photograph. It's the palace or the residential quarters of Nanda Maharaj. And if you go there, you'll see what's on top is 3 domes. And one of those domes, the one in the forward position, is a dome for Lord Shiva, up on top of the hill where Nanda Maharaj did his worship and made his residence. So some of you like history. When Krishna was born, where was he born? In Mathura. Krishna was born in the prison house of Kamsa, which was in Mathura. That night, at midnight, Krishna requested, please transfer me out of Mathura. Kamsa is a bad person. So take me on the other side of the river Jamuna. He went to Gokula. He stayed there in Gokula for 3 years, 4 months, too many demons. And so the elders, headed by Nanda Maharaja's elder brother Upananda, they decided better to shift to the other side, the western side of the river Jamuna. Fresh grass for the cows, maybe less demons over there, so they shifted. He started in Mathura. He then went to Gokula. And then the areas that they moved to, finally they ended up at Nandagram, what you see. But there were 3 other places. Chatikar, another place named Dig, and then Kamyavan, and then finally back at his ancestral home at Nandagram. And so look at the photograph. You may notice there's chakras above on the domes of 2 of the mandir places. One also has a trishul. That's where Lord Shiva is worshipped. And inside is a deity of Nandeshwara Mahadev in the courtyard to protect Nandagram or Nandagram, and also to receive Krishna's remnants. So what they do here, and I'll tell you the story behind it, but after the offerings are made to the altar, Krishna, Balaram, Nanda and Yasoda, etc., they take the prasad, and the first offering goes to Lord Shiva. And here's the story behind it, how that happened. Do you have a policy here when children start to make noise? What do you do? Mataji? Do the needful? Thank you very much. One day, Mother Yasoda was visited by a strange-looking person. The strange-looking person had cobras around his neck. His body was smeared in ashes, and he had big gobs of hair with a crescent jewel on his crown, his big matted locks of hair. And she looked at the person and said, what can I do for you? I just want to see your son. And she didn't want her son to be spooked by seeing this spooky looking person. So she made some excuse, and you'll have to come back another time. But what happened was, because Krishna is omniscient, and this was Lord Shiva, he knew that Lord Shiva had come for his darshan. He started crying and crying and crying and crying, and nothing she could do to stop Krishna from crying. So she deduced that perhaps this was because of an offense that she had made to this unusual looking sadhu that came to visit. So she sent some people to look for that unusual looking sadhu that came to visit. And sure enough, they found him. And as soon as they found him, Lord Shiva came before Krishna, and immediately Krishna stopped crying. So she said, Mother Jasoda said to Lord Shiva, I don't know who you are, but you have some special powers. And if there's something that I've done to offend you, please forgive me. If there's some service I can do for you, please let me know. And he said, there's just one thing. From time to time, I'd like to come and see your son, and I'd like to see the remnants of food that you've offered to him. So she quickly arranged for some prasad that had been offered to Krishna, and he was satisfied. And from time to time, he would come to get prasad. And since that time, this deity that you see here, that Nandeshwar Mahadev, was established so that they could offer the prasad of Krishna to the deity of Lord Shiva every day. Every day. So he's a very special personality. And when he wasn't visiting Krishna on top of Nandagram, on the building on the top of the hill, he stayed at the bottom of the hill. And here's a photograph of that place. It's known as Asheshvara Mahadev Temple. And it's not large, but it's very nice. Here's what it looked like inside. There's the Asheshvara Mahadev Linga, and around the side, here's a close-up. There's Nandi, and there's Ganesh, and there's Kartikeya, and then, of course, there's Parvati. And this deity is worshipped and offered the prasad of Krishna also. Now, in the courtyard, there's this other structure that is very small, and inside the very small structure is a murti of Lord Shiva dressed as a Gopi. So I'm going to narrate. Lord Shiva becomes a Gopi. Did you know? Some of you know, but some of you don't know. So this is described. This is the topic, is the interactions between Krishna and Lord Shiva, or Lord Shiva and Krishna. So Garga Samhita describes there was a sage who was in a mountaintop area, and he was engaged in, absorbed in meditation upon Radha and Krishna, who revealed their forms within his heart. And he was very happy. He was a Vaishnav, and he was very happy. And after a number of days, something happened. That form of Radha and Krishna just, poof, disappeared. So his meditation broke, and he was looking around and looking around. Where are they? So he wanted to see them face to face. So he went to see if he could find them in Badrinath at the Narayan Rishi ashram. And they weren't there, but Narayan Rishi weren't there. And so he then went to Loka mountain looking for the 1,000-armed Lord Shesha. Radha Krishna weren't there. Lord Shesha wasn't there either. He was puzzled. What's going on here? He went to Sweta Dweep. He had powers. He could travel all over the place. Sweta Dweep, in the Milk Ocean. Some of you know where that place is. If you don't, I don't think I'll take the time to explain it. It's an abode of Lord Vishnu within this material world, but it's in the upper regions of our universe. He went there, and not only Radha Krishna weren't there, but the Supreme Lord who resides reclining on the Ananta Shesha's bed wasn't there. What's going on? So he went to Vaikuntha. And not only Radha Krishna were not there, but Lakshmi Narayan weren't there. Wait a minute. They're the presiding deities of all these places. So he went to Goloka Vrindavan. And Radha and Krishna weren't in Goloka Vrindavan either. So he asked some of the cowherd boys, where did he go? They said, oh, didn't you know? He made his appearance on earth. No. The commentary says they're actually eternally situated there, but the pastime is to indicate that all of them entered into the form of Radha and Krishna, and therefore they're actually eternally present in all these places, but it's part of the narration of Garga Samhita. So he went to the earthly realm. He couldn't find Radha and Krishna. So what to do? So then he decided, I'll go to the best of the devotees of the Supreme Lord, Lord Shiva. Maybe he knows. So he went to Lord Shiva, who was in Kailash in deep meditation upon Krishna. And so Lord Shiva acknowledged the presence of this other sage, Asuri Muni, who said, what's going on? And where are Radha and Krishna? And Lord Shiva said, I was just very shortly planning to go to the earthly realm and visit Radha Krishna because I understand they're engaged in pastimes of rasa dance. So I'm going, would you like to accompany me? This is Garga Samhita. So off they went. And there's a beautiful description of what they saw in the realm of Vrindavan Dham. And they heard music, and they understood the rasa dances that way. So they went in the direction of the rasa dance, and they were checked by some young village girls. And the young village girls looked at them strangely, started giggling, and then they wondered, why are you giggling? And that made them giggle even more. They said, don't you know you can't come in the vicinity of the rasa dance in a male form. You're going to have to come back in a female form. And they looked at each other, looked at the young girls and said, how's that going to happen? They said, it's not so difficult. You go to Mana Sarovar, you take a sacred bath in Mana Sarovar, and your bodies will transform into female forms. And then you can come and participate in the rasa dance. So sure enough, both of them, according to Garga Samhita, they entered into Mana Sarovar, and much to their surprise, they emerged with gopi forms. And when Lord Shiva, Gopeshwara Mahadev, approached the rasa dance, Krishna saw him. He was big and very powerful looking. And Krishna said, I have a perfect service for you. You can stay just by the perimeter of our rasa dance and protect the rasa dance. So this is a painting showing Lord Shivaji as a gopi in the lower right corner, and he is guarding the rasa dance. Now, some of you have been to Vrindavan. How many here have been to Vrindavan already? Almost half. Maybe a third. So may all of you make your pilgrimage to Vrindavan one day. And of course, one of the places besides the Krishna Balaram Mandir that you'll go is Govardhan Hill. At the southern end of Govardhan Hill, also there was a rasa dance. At the northern end of Govardhan Hill is Radhakund Shamakund, and there's a deity of Lord Shiva protecting Radhakund And in the evening, they dress the deity like a gopi. Gopeshwara Mahadev. This is in Vangshivat, another place that likely you'll visit. Vangshivat is another celebrated place where Krishna would perform his pastimes. He would play upon his Vangshi and invite the gopis to come to Vangshivat and engage in rasa dance with him. And at this rasa dance place at Vangshivat, there you see a murti of Lord Shiva in a gopi form. There's no Asuri Muni at Vangshivat in a deity form, so it's said, we assume that he's there in a uppercut or unmanifest form. And not far, very close, is a temple of Lord Shiva, where the temple of Lord Shiva during the daytime just looks like a regular Shiva linga, and they dress the deity like this at night. That's Lord Shiva in the feature of a gopi. So next, remember the topic. The topic is the interactions of Lord Shiva with Krishna. So there's a very nice pastime that is described in chapter 34 of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10. Chapter 34 comes right after chapter 33. And chapters 30 through 33 are the Rasa Leela section. So this discussion, it takes place right after that, at least the presentation in the Bhagavatam. And so the mood is the rasa dance of Radha and Krishna and the gopis. And on the occasion of Shivaratri, the decision is made by the Brijbasis to make a pilgrimage to Ambika Vana. Ambika is one of the names of Lord Shiva's consort. So you see in the background of the painting, there's a murti of Ambika, and in front of Ambika is a Shivalinga. So they went, and they did, there's details and details about how they observed Shivaratri. Mainly it was fasting, doing rituals involved in the worship of Lord Shiva. And at night, because it was late at night and they were tired and weak from fasting all day, they took rest. And Nanda Maharaj was a little apart because he's the king of Vrindavan, and the elders were in another place, and the boys were in another place because they were playful and were in a separate place. And as you see in the painting, in the middle of the night, a massive serpent came slithering towards Nanda Maharaj and started swallowing. It was the translation of the Sanskrit word is a boa constrictor, like a python. And he was really big, and he started swallowing Nanda from his feet forward. And Nanda Maharaj woke up, feeling being swallowed. So what did Nanda Maharaj do? He called for Krishna. Specifically, he remembered, especially in time of danger, it's good to remember Krishna. He remembered during the name-giving ceremony of Krishna, which Nanda Maharaj was present for. In the name-giving ceremony, the arrangement was that Gargamuni told him that your son, two things, your son will have powers like Narayana. Another thing he said is, with these powers, he'll protect and rescue again and again the residents of Vrindavan. So in danger, he remembered those words, and he called out to Krishna. Now, when he called out to Krishna, because the boys were further away than the adults, so immediately the adults woke up, and as you see in the painting, they started whacking the serpent with sticks. Some of them were burning sticks because they were like a campfire, smashing and smashing, and the serpent didn't stop. So the boys came a little bit after that, and when the boys came after that, Krishna very gently placed his left foot on the head of the serpent, and as you see in the painting, from the serpent came another entity, another being. And Krishna said, "Who are you? How'd you get in this body of a serpent?" And he told his story. The story that he told is, my previous life, I was a Vidyadhara named Sudarshana. What's Vidyadhara? Vidyadhara, for those of you who'd like to know, because we were speaking a little bit about cosmology, there's earthly realm, according to Vedic picture, the Puranic picture, Bhumandala, that's this earthly realm. And then above the earthly realm is the heavenly realm, Svargaloka. And then there's this place in between, the earthly realm and the heavenly realm. And Vidyadhara Loka, or region, is in that place. Bhuvar Loka is called in Sanskrit. And Kinnaras, Gandharvas, Apsaras, Vidyadharas, and others have their residences in that in-between region. They're not exactly demigods, but they're not earthly bound beings either. They have opulences and powers and mystic things that they can do. So he, Sudarshana, saw some sages that had been doing austerities for a long time, and they looked disheveled, bent over, and they didn't look very good. And he was opulent and beautiful, and so he started mocking them. And they understood what he was doing, and so they cursed him. You should descend to the earthly plane. You're so envious, you should become a serpent. So this Vidyadhara, named Sudarshana, showing the body of a elegant, opulent personality, explained his story. Here's another painting, same pastime. Krishna is placing his left foot. There's Nanda Maharaja being swallowed. There's the devotees. Balaram's there with his hand on his chin saying, "What's going on here?" And Krishna released the Vidyadhara. In the background, you see the temple of Ambika, and in front of her is the deity of Lord Shiva. And interestingly, as soon as he was finished with his explanation, he could have asked for anything, but he says, my consciousness now has become freed from pride, and in my state of purified condition, I'd like to return to Vidyadhara Loka and carry the good news of Krishna Bhakti. Didn't say it exactly like that, but I'd like to go on Sankarshana in Vidyadhara Loka. And so he goes. So this is an interaction between Lord Shiva, at least the temple of Lord Shiva, where the residents of Vrindavan went to go offer their worship and respect. Now there's some detail which we'll touch on as we go a little bit further, but specifically our acharyas say they were not worshiping, I'll say it twice, they were not worshiping the Lord Shiva that persons of this world commonly worship. We spent a whole lot of time in the last 3 days describing the graded realms in which Lord Shiva resides, and the residents of Vrindavan are not interested in material benedictions. They're not worshiping the Lord Shiva who gives material benedictions. They are worshiping the representative, the expansion of the personality of Godhead, known as Sankarshana. We'll get to this again in just a little bit. Here's another very direct history found some chapters later in the 10th canto Bhagavatam, where Krishna is engaged in a fight with Banasura. Banasura is in this painting. He's in the lower left. Doesn't show he had enough arms. He had 1,000 arms. And it shows him playing percussion instruments while Lord Shiva is dancing. So who is Banasura anyway? Asura means he's a demon, but he was the eldest of the 100 sons of the great, great, great Vaishnav, Bali Maharaj. But he wasn't a great personality. Although his father was a great personality, his son was just the opposite. He became, not just that he became a devotee of Lord Shiva, but he was a very proud person. And when he was doing this, playing on the musical instruments while Lord Shiva was dancing, Lord Shiva was so pleased with him, he offered him a benediction of anything he would like. So what did he ask for? He asked that you can be a guard at my door. What a proud person. So some time passed, and Banasura, with his 1,000 arms, was feeling frustrated because he couldn't find somebody of equal strength. So he approached Lord Shiva one day and said, these arms are a big burden because I can't find anyone in the three worlds worthy of fighting except you. Lord Shiva became very angry and said, your flag will be broken, you fool. When you have done battle with one who is my equal, that fight will vanquish your conceit. So there's a painting where he's bowing before Lord Shiva and Parvati. And that other personality looks like Kartikeya, not sure. And that's Mount Kailash, in case you didn't recognize. Lord Shiva considered, it would be improper to kill my servant with my own hands. But if this foolish, intoxicated person who has received my mercy thinks his mighty 1,000 arms to be a burden, then my master, who relieves the world of its burden, will indeed take away his burden. So that's a whole chapter 63. And chapter 64 begins with Banasura had a daughter. And one of his daughter's names was Usha. And Usha kept having these dreams. And in her dreams, a lover was coming. And they were engaged in loving activities together in her dreams. And sometimes she would wake up. And when she would wake up, she'd call out. And one of her friends, Chitralekha, happened to be really good at many things. So she said, who's this? What's going on? So she confided in her friend. And her friend said, I'm really good at art. I'll just make a number of paintings and you tell me which person that is. She made many, 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 many paintings. And it turned out that when she Chitralekha, made a painting, or Chitradevi made a painting of Aniruddha, who was Krishna's grandson, she blushed. That's him. So her friend said, I have another power besides art. I can travel without any conveyance, and I can, in the middle of the night, I can find where Aniruddha resides and bring him here to you. So not just in your dreams, but you can engage in amorous affairs with him. So that's what happened. And there's some nice painting showing that happening. And sure enough, there they are, Usha and Aniruddha, enjoying their company. Now, in Vedic culture, particularly at this time, the ladies would stay in one part of the house that men wouldn't enter, generally the central part of the house. Men would be on the outer part, and no man would go into the inner part. But there's Aniruddha, not just going, but he was residing with Usha. And in course of time, some of the servants noticed there were marks on their bodies, indicating, so they confided in Banasura, looks like your daughter is up to something. You better go check it out. So he went to check it out with his 1,000 arms and see behind his back in one of his hands is this mystical weapon. And when he saw Aniruddha sitting inside the ladies' chambers with his daughter, he exploded. And he tried to attack and apprehend Aniruddha. Aniruddha is very, very powerful, but by Yogamaya's arrangement, he was subdued and put in jail. This is Krishna's grandson. Now, a little detail. The associates of Krishna were as powerful as Krishna. So how was it possible for him to be subdued by Banasura? He had a mystic, but still, even with his mystic skills, you can't subdue Aniruddha. It was Yogamaya's arrangement. And then the next chapter begins with Narada Muni. See him on the left side? Narada Muni went all the way to Dwarka to tell Krishna what happened. There's Krishna listening to what happened. And he decided, let's immediately go and release my grandson, Aniruddha. So Pradyumna was his son. Rukmini and Krishna were married. Their first son was Pradyumna, and Pradyumna's first son was Aniruddha. And Aniruddha, by the way, is one of the Chatravyuha personalities, so it's not an ordinary event here. So off they went. The entire army arrived. There's lists of names, and they completely surrounded the city. And in 12 divisions, they laid siege on the city, the capital city of Banasura. And knowing that his devotee, Lord Shiva, knowing that his devotee was in difficulty, he immediately came to the rescue, accompanied by Kartikeya, who is a very powerful fighter, and these pramatas. Here's what the pramatas, it says, powerful mystics who are Lord Shiva's retinue and assume many different forms. So Kartikeya and many, many, many others came. There's Lord Shiva riding a Nandi, ready for a fight. So there's this fight between Krishna and Lord Shiva and others and others and others, and there's this big battle going on. And Lord Shiva is hit with a yawn weapon. So he's out of commission for a little bit. And Krishna then goes after Banasura. And with his Sudarshan chakra, he cuts off 96 of his arms. No, 996 of his arms. He leaves 4. And seeing his devotee, Banasura, who he knew was proud, and he already predicted he's going to lose that heavy burden of his so many arms, he comes to Krishna and speaks some nice prayers. And here's some of them. It's a nice painting too. Rudra said, "You alone are the absolute truth, the supreme light, the mystery hidden within the verbal manifestations of the absolute. Those whose hearts are spotless can see you, for you are uncontaminated like the sky." There's many nice prayers. Here's another one. "You are the original person, one without a second, transcendental and self-manifesting, uncaused. You are the cause of all, and you are the ultimate controller. You are nonetheless perceived in terms of the transformations of matter, effected by your illusory energy, transformations you sanction, so that the various material qualities can become fully manifest." So behind it all, in short, there's the hand of Krishna. Now, I'm a little bit in anxiety about time because there's more to go, and I don't know what your threshold of restlessness is. So I'll just keep going until somebody tells me to stop. How's that? Yeah. So you want somebody, the timekeeper says, I get a sense that the audience is wants out of here, so I'll stop. But these are nice pastimes. I'll skip this. It's another nice prayer. And after he offers his prayer, he says, please be kind to Banasura. So Krishna stops with his Sudarshan chakra. Banasura comes before both Krishna and Lord Shiva and offers sincere apology. And what does Krishna do? Here's the text from the verse. Thus attaining freedom from fear, Banasura offered obeisances to Krishna by touching his head on the ground. Bana then seated Aniruddha and his bride, Usha, Banasura's daughter, on their chariot and brought them before the Lord. Krishna said to Lord Shiva, I'll make him one of your associates. As long as you're in this world, he'll be with you. He'll have powers like you have. He's a gifted person. He just now has to be freed from pride. Krishna curbed his pride. So Banasura was very grateful. I mean, if any one of us could have all the pride that we have within our heart taken away, what a mercy. Big one. So he got the mercy. Same pastime is being discussed in Brihat Bhagavatamrita. The painting you see is Narada Muni, and he is traveling in different places to find who is the greatest recipient of the Lord's mercy. He's sent by Brahma to Lord Shiva. When he comes before Lord Shiva doesn't like what he hears, but here's what Narada says. Bana was a cause of trouble for saintly persons. Too proud of the strength of his arms, he used magic to arrest Aniruddha and fight against Krishna, the wielder of the disc. When you saw that Bana, your devotee, whom you had maintained like a son, was on the verge of being killed, to save his life, you offered prayers to Sri Hari. Then, at once Lord Krishna put aside his anger. Now, pleased, the Lord gave Bana a form like his own and raised him to being one of your associates, a position rarely obtained even by demigods. Krishna is very kind. Today I have finally seen your amazing, uncontrollable eagerness to serve the Supreme Lord in pure devotion. No wonder Lord Krishna always loved you the most. Krishna's love for you is never interrupted. By your mercy, many others have become dear to him. So that's a very direct interaction between Krishna and Lord Shiva. And Banasura was part of the drama. Some of you may have been to Mayapur. In Mayapur, there's a deity that's half Lord Shiva and half Vishnu, or Hari-Hara. Hari is Lord Narayan or Vishnu, and Hara is Lord Shiva. You see in one hand he's holding a trident, and by his side, they've redone the looks of the deity. That's Parvati by Lord Shiva's side and Lakshmi by Narayan's side. Narayan is holding the chakra, Lord Shiva is holding the trident. So it's Hari-Hara. And this manifestation is described in a number of scriptures, but one of them is pointed to here, Padma Purana, where by transcendental arrangement, the Lord came in this form. Almost done with the interactions of Lord Shiva and Krishna. This is from Mahabharata. And there's a passage in Mahabharata that describes Krishna's worshipping Lord Shiva so that he could have a son born from his wife Jambavati. Now, what's going on? Who's supreme? This is Mahabharata. It's not just, the Tamasic Puranas. We were discussing this. This is Mahabharata. So what's going on? Krishna doesn't need Shiva's blessing for anything. He had 16,108 wives. He manifested 16,108 forms of Krishna, and with each of those wives he had 10 sons. And he didn't ask Lord Shiva for a benediction for each and one of those sons. So what's going on? And what's going on is Krishna likes. This is what our acharyas describe about this specifically. Madhvacharya describes, and other acharyas describe, there are many situations where Krishna worships his devotee. One of them you probably know, and that's when Sudama, Vipra or Brahmana, who was Krishna's classmate, later in the 10th canto, he goes to visit Krishna. He's a Brahmana, he's a householder Brahmana. Krishna is a Kshatriya living in Dwarka. He comes to visit Krishna in Dwarka. Krishna stops everything and literally worships him. Krishna worships Sudama. Now, one idea is because he's a Brahmana and Krishna is a Kshatriya, so he's respecting Brahmana, that's culture. But even more so, he's a devotee. Not even more so, he's a pure devotee. So he has such devotion, Krishna worships him. Or Krishna certainly offered respect to his elder cousin, Yudhisthira, and to Kunti. Many examples in Mahabharata and elsewhere where Krishna is offering his profound respect to Kunti, she sees Krishna as the Supreme Lord, and Krishna sees her as his superior. So Krishna likes. Krishna likes. So this pastime from Mahabharata is Krishna likes. So he goes to Lord Shiva, although he doesn't need to go to Lord Shiva for anything, and he's asking for a benediction from him. Then he can have a son. The principle is found in the Srimad Bhagavatam when Maharaj Ambarish, you know that Canto 9 description, Ambarish is protected when Durvasa Muni tries to attack him and kill him. And instead, Sudarshan Chakra kills the fiery demon and chases after Durvasa Muni. And when Durvasa Muni goes to Lord Vishnu, here's what Lord Vishnu says. I can't do anything aside from my devotee. My devotee is in my heart. And I'm in the devotee's heart. So if you have a problem, you have to go to my devotee because I can't do anything contradictory to my devotee. He likes taking the position of subservience. Driving Arjuna's chariot is a subservience. In this case, he's offering prayers to Lord Shiva. Please give your benediction. One more. This is the last reference about Krishna's interaction with Lord Shiva. This is found in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. What's that? Nectar Devotion, in our English translation, Prabhupada's translation, and describing different experiences of ecstasy in the Bhava Bhakti stage of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. One of them, the symptom of ecstasy, is dancing. And here's the example given. Seeing the moon-like face of Hari, radiating sweetness as he practiced his flute playing. He was just practicing. Lord Shiva began to tremble and then began to dance in the sky along with Ganesh to the rhythm of his drum. He was just practicing. Okay, we're more than halfway done, but there's some very nice interactions between Lord Ramachandra and Lord Shiva. I'll try to go through them quickly, although they're very nice. One of them is mentioned in Valmiki Ramayana, where Lord Ramachandra is there. Notice in the painting up above, there's some devatas. One of them is Lord Shiva. This is where she's the test of fire is being placed. Valmiki Ramayana says, after Mother Sita successfully passed the trial by fire, Lord Shiva appeared in front of Lord Ram and said, lotus-eyed, great-armed, broad-chested, scorcher of your foes, foremost of weapon-bearers, thank heavens you have accomplished this feat. You have dispelled in battle the vast and terrible darkness in the form of the fear of Ravana that had engulfed the entire world. He goes on, you must now console the despondent Bharata and the illustrious Kaushalya and see Kaikeyi and Lakshman's mother, Sumitra. You must assume the kingship of Ayodhya. He's giving like his script, coming attractions. And reward all your allies. Then, mighty hero, you must establish a lineage in the house of the Ikshvakus. At last, once you have offered the horse sacrifice and attained unsurpassed glory, you should give away your wealth to the Brahmanas and ascend to the triple heaven. That's triple heaven. Ayodhya. And here, look, in his flying chariot is your father Dasarath, who in the world of men was your illustrious elder. Saved by you, his son, the majestic king has attained the world of Indra. Together with Lakshmana, you must now respectfully salute him. It's Lord Shiva in Valmiki Ramayana, directly interacting with Lord Ramachandra. Some of you are aware that after Ravana was killed, the Pushpaka Vimana that Ravana had usurped was now given to Ram, so he could quickly go back to Ayodhya because the time of his being gone before Bharata would take his life was almost up. So they got on their Pushpaka Vimana, and Ram wanted to show Sita, giving like a guided tour of the places that he had been in the course of coming to rescue her, and the Vanaras also. So they came in for a little landing at Setu Bandha. Now, some of you are not familiar with that. Many of you are, and some of you are not. It's a little peninsula, like an island, or extended piece of land that juts out, and at the end of that land is where there's a place where you see Lord Shiva being worshipped by Lord Ram on his way back. Behind him is Hanuman, and over on the other side is Vibhishan, and there's Ram and Lakshman. So he, Ramachandra, is worshipping Lord Shiva. So wait a minute. Who's the supreme? Who's the worshipper and who's the worshipped? Same situation as Krishna offering prayers. Same situation. Now this is mentioned in Tulsi Ramayana, but it's a little different than what you're going to hear shortly. Lord Ram told Sita, see this island? This is from Valmiki Ramayana. Located in the middle of the ocean, where my troops were stationed, at this place Lord Shiva formerly bestowed his grace on me. Valmiki Ramayana. Now, here's what Madhvacharya writes, and he has an extended commentary on Mahabharata, and there's a section in his commentary on Mahabharata where he gives like a quick summary of Ramayana in relation to Mahabharata. And there I'll read it because his language is important, why it was that Ram prayed to Shiva at Rameshwaram. You ready? Okay. Nobody's getting restless yet. 3 reasons. Lord Ram did not pray to Lord Shiva to get rid of any dosha or fault. In other words, it's a common understanding that Madhva says it's a misunderstanding. It's a common understanding, but a common misunderstanding that Lord Ramachandra, had killed Ravana, who from birth was a Brahmana, although he wasn't behaving like a Brahmana. And so he wanted to undergo atonement for having killed a Brahmana. It's a common understanding. I've heard it many times. Probably some of you in the room, at least those of you that are from India, you've probably heard it many times. Madhva says, no. Rather, he did it to rid Lord Shiva of Brahmahatya. What's Brahmahatya? The killing of a Brahmana, or in this case, Lord Brahma. That is, when Lord Shiva cut the 5th head of Lord Brahma. Now, I had to do a little research to find out what that was all about. So I'll share that with you. See the little red asterisk? Hang on. The very darshan or sight of Ram Setu rids one of the highest sin. Ram wanted Shiva to always have such a sight of Ram Setu, so he installed him at Rameshwaram. Here's some background. One is found in Matsya Purana, another is found in Skanda Purana, where there is a feature of Brahma having 5 heads, one of which was cut by Lord Shiva in a fit of anger. And the first one in Matsya is narrated by Lord Matsya to Vaivasvata Manu. So if you're interested, you can look it up. But that's the background reference for what Madhvacharya says. Madhvacharya wanted to relieve Lord Shiva of the reaction of having chopped one of Brahma's heads. So that's what he was doing. That's why he's doing this worship, according to Madhvacharya. Next, why is Ram offering prayers? Lord Ram prayed to Lord Shiva to deceive evil persons and to make them believe that Shiva is greater than Hari. Since Ram had worshipped him, many fall prey to this error. So the other understanding is what we heard already. Ramchandra likes to honor his devotee. So he does what he likes. He likes to honor his devotee. And a third reason, Lord Ram wanted to teach the common folk to worship all the deities, especially Rudra, as he is Mano Niyamaka. He controls the mind. Thus, if we want Gyan, Bhakti, or Vairagya, we need to respect Lord Shiva. Now, you may have your ideas. I'm just repeating. This is what Madhvacharya writes in his very celebrated commentary on Mahabharata, why Krishna was worshipping Lord Shiva at Rameshwaram. There's another reference where Lord Shiva is involved. You see in the upper right, there's the Devatas, Lord Shiva. Next to him is Lord Brahma. Behind them is Indra and other Devatas. And they're showering, the Apsaras and Gandharvas are showering flowers. It's the coronation. It's a very beautiful painting. There's Sita and Ram being seated on the royal throne, and the crown is about to be placed on Ram's head. And there's the 3 mothers. And, the whole situation is very nicely depicted. Now, in Ram Charitamanas, that's a history of Lord Ramchandra's life by Tulsi Das. At the time of the coronation of Lord Ram, Shiva seeks blessings for having firm devotion at the feet of Lord Ram. I'm pausing because it's the same Ramcharitamanas that says what Valmiki Ramayana doesn't say. What Valmiki Ramayana doesn't say, which Ramcharitmanas says, is in order to cross the ocean, Lord Ramachandra worshipped Lord Shiva to get the benediction that he could cross the ocean. It's not in Valmiki Ramayana. So that same author, where he's worshipping Lord Shiva to get the benediction to cross the ocean, here Lord Shiva, the same author, saying Lord Shiva is asking for blessings to have firm faith and devotion at the feet of Lord Ram. I hope you're not confused. Similarly, in Padma Purana, at the time of the coronation, this is found. Lord Shiva offers prayers. Oh Ram, we too, that's he and his consort, are venerable to the world. You too, Sita and Ram, are always venerable to us. Gauri mutters your name, I mutter your mantra, to one desiring to die at Manikarnika. We're going to see a photograph of Manikarnika in a moment. One desiring to die at Manikarnika and remain in half of its water, that's sacred water at Kashi. I give your emancipating mantra leading to Bhagavan. So I chant Ram's name, and at those who go to this special place, I utter your name in their ear as they're offering their prayers. So here's some detail. Lord Shiva chants the name of Lord Ram to all who die at Kashi. This is a very old drawing of the Ghat, Manikarnika Ghat at Kashi or Varanasi. Now, some of you know, my guess is some of you will know this following stotra. Ram Ram Rameti, Rama Rame, Mano Rame, Sahasranama Tulyam, Ramanama Varan. So lots of you know that. Let's say it slowly together, because it's a nice prayer. It's a well-known prayer. If you don't memorize it now, that's okay, but it's a well-known prayer. Rama Rama Rameti, Rame Rame Mano Rame, Sahasra Nama Tulyam, Ramanama Ranane. The translation reads, Oh Varanana, that's the name of Durga. I chant the holy name of Rama, 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 and thus enjoy this beautiful sound. This holy name of Ramachandra is equal to 1,000 holy names of Lord Vishnu. From Padma Purana. It's said that this was revealed by Lord Shiva to the great sage Kaushika, found in Padma Purana. Here's another reference. Going to a place, this is in Padma Purana when Ramachandra was at Chitrakoot. Where's Chitrakoot? Those of you that are familiar with Ramayana, it's where Ram, after he was banished, he went to a hillside or mountain area named Chitrakoot. And he stayed there for some time. Bharata came to try to retrieve him from Chitrakoot to bring him back to Ayodhya. He declined. So while Ram, Sita, and Lakshman are in Chitrakoot, Lord Ram is feeling, this is from Padma Purana, he's feeling great separation from his father. He gets the advice from Atri Muni to go to Pushkar and perform certain rituals for his father. So Ram went to Pushkar and did the rituals. However, after the rites, Lakshman began to behave differently and refused to serve Lord Ram and Mother Sita. Lord Ram understood that Lakshman was exhibiting the nature of this kshetra, which makes a person behave selfishly. Seeking restoration of Lakshman's true nature, Lord Ram prayed to Lord Shiva at a certain temple in Pushkar. And the image on the right side is the temple in Pushkar that he went to And on the left side, that's Atri Muni, who gave this recommendation to him. Lord Shiva replied, "You are the Supreme Lord," Padma Purana. "You are the Supreme Lord who has appeared in a human form, which the world adores. With you as their Lord, the Devatas will enjoy happiness for a long time. Those men on earth who will see you having returned to Ayodhya after 14 years have elapsed will be happy here in this world and will also have an unending residence in the eternal realm Vaikuntha. Go back to the city of Ayodhya after you've done a great mission for the Devatas." So Lord Shiva is directly interacting with Lord Ram. Again, it's as if he needs Shiva's help, but he's just engaging him. That's all. It's like Krishna asking Uddhava, "What should I do?" And Uddhava says, "You're my intelligence. Whatever you say to me, that's what I'll say." So the Lord has these loving, the way to understand, proper way to understand this kind of exchange is that the Lord Ramachandra, or the personality of Godhead, enjoys taking a subordinate role to his devotee. And he has his devotee speak things that he knows, but he's giving this intimate devotee some nice service. Almost done with Lord Ramachandra. When Lord Ramachandra, after killing the demon that Vishwamitra Muni wanted him to kill, he went to the palace of King Janak. Now look in the back and you see King Janak with his folded palms, and you see little Sita by his elbow. And the hand of Sita was to string the bow of Shiva. So how'd the bow of Shiva get in Janaka's kingdom anyways? So there's some nice history. And long, long ago, many, many generations before King Janak, Vishvakarma made two bows because the Devas were wanting to know who's more powerful. So he made equally strong bows, gave one to Vishnu, one to Lord Shiva. And when Vishnu won, the bow of Lord Shiva was given to the Devas. They worshipped him. He gave them his bow. The Devas then gave their bow to King Nimi's son. You want me to end? Okay. Okay. I thought the timekeeper would give me the hook. So let me just finish this one. Maybe another visit I'll continue. Maybe when I come out to the suburbs I'll finish or something. So we saw the painting of King Nimi doing his yagya, and from the sky came these celestial sages, the Nava-yogendras. It's the same King Nimi had a son. His son was named Devarata. The demigods gave the bow to Devarata. Devarata passed it on in generations and became in the care of King Janak. And not only Ram strung the bow, but he broke the bow. And there's more, but we'll have to do this another time. So let's see if there's some, I'm giving the okay to see if there's some discussion. So any comments or questions or complaints? Yes, Mataji? We don't have the portable microphone. It works.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Maharaj, my question is about Banasura.
About which?
Banasura.
Bana.
So after he was left with 4 arms,
Yes.
so did he attain perfection, or he was blessed by the Lord?
He was just left as an assistant of Lord Shiva. It doesn't say more than that.
He didn't go to Sadashiva Loka.
It didn't say more than that.
Thank you much.
Yes? Back there.
Thank you. May I ask, why did he break the bows? You said
Oh, he
made
just
them and broke them?
he was just supposed to string it. It was so heavy. You see, there's a cart with wheels. It took 30 men to pull the cart with wheels. The bow was so heavy. No, this is just a particular artist showing it a particular way. The BBT artists show a much bigger cart and a much bigger bow. All he was supposed to do, so other kings came, they couldn't even lift it. So he didn't just lift it. He didn't just string it. He broke it. And they were like, wow, he's good. You're a fit match for my daughter, Sita.
Thank you.
But Sita had great powers too. There's many descriptions. Here's one. Her father wanted to train her how to be humble in service. So one of the things that she was given to do was to clean a certain part of the palace. And the certain part of the palace, with one hand she would lift the bow, and the other hand she'd clean the area where the bow was. But the other kings couldn't even lift the bow. Sita was a powerful lady. Yes.
Nandagram. I am surprised when you say according to the Ramayana, where he said that Lord Ramachandra worshipped Lord Shiva because he killed Ravana, who is a Brahmana.
That's the common understanding. What I said was, people in the world, many people in this room have probably heard. That's why Ram worshipped Lord Shiva, was to atone for the act of having killed the person who was born in a Brahmin family.
Yeah, but my question is, if the Lord say he's not affected by any kind of
Yeah, so that it doesn't compute, does it? But on the other hand, Lord Ramachandra was performing pastimes as if he's a person of this world. Now, many times he would show that he's not, but he was showing exemplary character for a person that's of this world. Sometimes divine, sometimes teaching by example, proper conduct. Online. I think we hit the restlessness position. We'll just take one question online. We'll go on.
This question is the Sridhar asked. Could I kindly know why is Lord Shiva worshipped in the Linga form? What does that form signify?
We had a nice discussion, and Vedasar can fill you all in. It represents lingam is the male generative organ. Yoni is the female generative organ. And when Lord Shiva, another name of Lord Shiva is Shambhu. I'm pausing because I want people to digest this. Shambhu is another name for the glance of Mahavishnu. And when the glance of Mahavishnu contacts material nature, that's the primordial impregnation. Material nature is Prakriti, and his glance is Shambhu, contacts material nature. And that's the primordial impregnation. That is to say, all living entities. Samasti means all living entities. That's a lot of living entities. How many? Innumerable. That's how many. Living entities are carried by the glance, who is Shambhu. Living entities enter into Prakriti. That's impregnation. It's the primordial impregnation. So the question was, what's a Shiva Linga? That's what it is. In the graphic language of Bhakti Siddhanta, it's the male generative organ. Pretty explicit. That's what the Shiva Linga is. And it's a form with which Lord Shiva is being worshipped for being the original progenitor of living entities in this world. He is carrying the living entities through the glance of Mahavishnu. Now, some people are not going to like hearing that explanation, but that's the explanation. I don't know if that's not a nice note to end on, but we're out of time. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.